Welcome to the course overview for Emerging Trends and Technologies in K-12 Virtual Education. By now you have watched the course welcome video where I introduced myself as well as my expectations for the overall learning adventure that's awaiting you in this course. In this brief video, I'd like to walk through some of the more practical aspects of this course, so you most clearly know what's expected of you as a student or truly a participant in this vibrant learning community, and what you can expect of me as your facilitator or instructor. So let's start with my course goals. I think it's important when you're teaching to be very explicit about what you as the instructor, you as the facilitator, expect to get from this teaching experience. So why I'm invested in this course, I think is important for you to understand. Personally, I'm hoping that together we can explore more ways to improve virtual K-12 education around the world. I know I can't do this alone, and I'm looking to empower a learning community such as this within this MOOC so that we can together make a difference. I also personally am piloting this MOOC environment. This will be the first MOOC I have taught. Now, I have helped multiple instructors create, develop, and facilitate their own MOOCs, but this will be my first chance at really getting to explore what a MOOC's like firsthand. I'm also hoping to encourage this community to grow beyond just this course. You all have a sincere interest in finding the best ways to use technologies and even emerging trends to support really effective virtual K-12 education. And because of that, I'd like to hopefully introduce you to one another and then allow for this or find ways to foster this community beyond just this duration of the course. Finally, I'm hoping that through this course, you all will then go out and inspire other teachers, other educators, and other learners so that they can continue to foster the best K-12 virtual education possible. Now, I have a few opening caveats to this course, or what this course will be and what it won't be. I think it's important for you to understand this because for some of you, this may not be as interesting as you thought it would be. Or for others, this may be more interesting and solidify your reasons for wanting to participate in this course. I want to make sure that I'm using your time as wisely as possible because you're dedicating time when you could be doing other personal and professional things to this course. So let's just be clear about what this course really is and is not. So this course will be highly US-centered in the examples provided. That doesn't mean that I don't honor the international students coming into this course or all of the great experiences around the world in virtual education. But what it does mean is that my body of expertise happens to be in the United States. So many of the examples that you are going to be presented with will be US focused. That said, there will be ample opportunity for folks from countries around the world to actively engage and discuss the topics that we'll be presenting in the course in the discussion forums and even through your peer assessment. So please, let's bring these ideas out and let's educate one another about what's happening around the world. But do know that many of my examples will be US focused. This course will be conducted in English. So that means that all of my videos will be conducted in English. I will ask for closed captioning in English, and then you can request other captions should you wish in other languages. I will make sure, however, that you do have my PowerPoint slides, you'll have weekly lecture notes, and you'll have resource documents that you can then take and translate to your native languages should you decide to. I do ask that you participate in the forums in English. We'll use this as our base language for communicating with one another. And the peer assessment, if you choose to participate in that activity, will also be conducted in English. This course is focused on K-12 virtual education. Now there's one of my first US-centric references. In the US, we reference K-12 as education from ages 3 to 4 all the way to 18. Please, this can definitely apply to those age groups around the world. The lessons here can also apply to adult education as you see fit. However, once again, remember that the examples that we will present will be specific to K-12 virtual education. We are releasing the content in this course in a week-by-week fashion. That means that each week, new content will be released. Except in week 3 and 4, where we will be releasing some content ahead of time so that you can have a head start on your peer assessment activity without worrying about not knowing the content behind some of the questions involved in that peer assessment activity. We will leave this course open, I will warn you, for as up until June 2014, or truly as long as you'd like to access the content, for those students that have enrolled in the course. Once the course finishes, students will no longer be able to enroll, so if you want to invite a friend, they won't be able to enroll. Invite them before the end of the course. But like I said, you will have access to the content in an ongoing fashion until June 2014. And I will warn you when we do close the course so that you have plenty of time to grab any of the content you wish. Now, this course is highly focused on the exchange of ideas. By no means am I going to be presenting what I think is right or wrong. What I'm hoping to present to you are ideas that can inspire ideas for you in how to apply virtual technologies, emerging trends, and other resources in your own education practice. Now, because it's an exchange in ideas, I expect you all to exchange with one another as much, if not more, than I'm exchanging with you. As I mentioned in my welcome video, I truly believe that you will learn way more from each other than you will from me in this course, and that's the purpose of creating this learning community, and truly the inherent purpose of a MOOC. Now, a couple of things this course will not be. Certainly perfect or highly produced, and there's reasons for that. I'm going to make mistakes. When I record, I'm sure you'll hear me trip over my words occasionally. When you see some of the content, inevitably there'll be something that you'll debate or think may be incorrect, and that's wonderful. Because if we think of ourselves as educators, we're certainly not perfect when we're in our facilitation or teaching mode. I want to make this as real an experience for you as possible. That is also why I'm not highly producing this course. Now, certainly you will see some videos with me in person. You're going to see quite a bit of recorded PowerPoint lectures like this as videos. You're going to see documents and resources that have taken time to put together. But they will not be highly produced television quality, super engaging, lots of images videos. And there's a reason for that. What I'm trying to model is something that could be quite simple for you all to produce as well. And in fact, I will give you a little look into the behind the scenes of what's gone into making this MOOC so that as you watch and learn from this experience, you can also think about how you may want to create MOOCs in order to support your virtual K-12 education initiatives. The last thing this course will not be is an environment where we're promoting specific technologies or platforms over others. In other words, I don't have Facebook stock. I'm going to talk about Facebook, I'm going to talk about Twitter, but it's not because I have any particular allegiance to those companies. It's just because they are some of the more popular or mainstream applications that people have access to and are utilizing that you can very easily incorporate in your practices, in your home environments. So this isn't a preferred, I prefer one technology over another, I think one company is better than another. This is really just about giving you examples so that you can then go apply those examples to other technologies that may be available to you. Now, as I mentioned before, I was going to give you a little bit of a look under the covers to see how this course was created. So if you want to think about replicating any pieces of this that you happen to like, you would know what went into this course. So first of all, of course, we're using Coursera, or a MOOC platform. There are multiple MOOC platforms out there, and in week 4 we will be talking about MOOCs and those different platforms. So if you wanted to create one, even in using your own home technologies, you certainly could, but once again, we're using Coursera as the flavor of choice in this case. This was also created using Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. I did not use any other document creation technologies beyond Adobe so that I can make PDFs of all of the materials in here for you. So very simple technologies to create the documents and resources. I am using Camtasia Studio for all of my recorded videos. And with that Camtasia Studio environment, I'm incorporating a USB microphone and headset so that you can hear my audio as I'm presenting these lectures. Now for the face-to-face lectures, I did have a great videographer work with me. He has a pretty nice video camera and one light, and we sat in my office and we recorded all of those lectures and then edited them using a similar technology to a Camtasia Studio. So very simple editing, even editing that I'm able to do. I'm also incorporating, and you'll see this in just a few minutes, some social tools. We're going to have a Pinterest board. We're going to be using Twitter to talk with one another. We'll have a Facebook page associated with this course, and we'll even have a YouTube channel where you can share your own videos and collaborate with your own ideas using these social technologies. And finally, of course, I use the internet. I use the internet not only to give you examples, but also to find much of the research that I'm going to be incorporating into the lectures. Now, many of the MOOCs that you may have experienced had teams of people behind them helping them to develop them. Once again, I wanted to make this incredibly realistic and tangible for you if you wanted to replicate any of the ideas that I'm presenting or using in my manner to teach this. So I had one videographer only. He helped me do those face-to-face videos. I did have a very talented artist who helped draw my PowerPoint templates and some of the badges that will be coming up. And then I did have a good friend that edited my work to make sure I didn't have any spelling errors. But beyond that, I predominantly was the source of this course creation. Now, as you'll see in the syllabus, we have a set of learning objectives for this course. These learning objectives take each element of the course and incorporate it into a set of skills that I hope you will walk away with, or a set of outcomes that I hope you will feel like you can achieve. First and foremost, I'm hoping that you'll be able to understand the role of technology, particularly in how we use technology to distribute content, to encourage collaborative activities among learners, to assess students, to assess courses, programs, curricula, and even to manage communication within your communities of learners. I then hope you'll be able to identify and evaluate existing trends, existing technologies, emerging trends, emerging technologies, so that you can determine whether or not they will be valuable in your own virtual course instruction and experiences. Now, I also hope that you will have opportunities in this course where you will be designing and assessing your own learning activities so that you can figure out how to then implement virtual technologies, emerging trends within your day-to-day lives. I'm hoping you walk away with something in this course that can help change the way you teach, improve the way you teach, or even help you help others improve the way they teach. And I hope that you're empowered with the skill set to be able to research, to critically evaluate, and to employ open content in virtual education. There's tons of resources out there for you, specific to your particular disciplines, or even just broad resources that help you develop students into the problem-solving critical thinkers that we all hope they'll become. And I want to help you be able to identify where to find those resources, evaluate them, and then implement them in your own curriculum. I also hope that you will find ways to contribute back to that broad arena of open educational resources so that we can continue to see this community of educators around the world come together and support one another in these resources. Finally, we're going to wrap up the course with a debate around the role of MOOCs in virtual K-12 education. We're going to talk about how you may want to use them, where they may not be appropriate, and where you may want to go create your own MOOCs so that you have resources that you can use readily in your education settings. Now let's talk a little bit about the content of the course. Each week, and we have 4 weeks of content, and then one final week of review and the final exam and housekeeping. So 4 weeks of content. In those 4 weeks of content, you will get an introductory video, very brief, usually 1 minute or less, where I welcome you to the lesson and the topics at hand. Then you will get a series of lecture videos. These will be recorded as you're seeing here and will not exceed an hour worth of content. Most of these will last anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes at most. We'll include closed captioning, and I will provide you with PDFs of all of my PowerPoint slides. With those PowerPoint slides, you will also get a resource list that will often just be an annotated list of links where you can go out and get more information on either the various topics or the resources presented. And you will have the lecture notes. I am going to create short outlines for each week of the content that's presented that week so that you can take notes as you go through the lectures. In my experience with MOOCs, students appreciate as many different kinds of resources as they can possibly get, especially if you're working with this MOOC offline. Now together, I will be expecting you to be active participants. For those of you that don't know the history of MOOCs, that is what MOOCs really emerged to accomplish. The way to bring a learning community together and structure learning activities where that everybody participating in that community actually contributed significantly. The facilitator did just that, facilitated that learning experience. But it wasn't about the presentation of content and the individual consumption of that content. It was about what can the community do together to build knowledge that individuals could not build on their own. So we will be doing that. I will be challenging you to do that. In order to do that, we will be discussing quite heavily in the Coursera forums. We will also be using social network tools like Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. I have created pages in each of these resources for you. You'll find them on the resources tab within this course so that you can go actively participate in these spaces outside of Coursera. I also know that a number of you have probably created your own. In fact, before this course even started, I had a student reach out to me and say, I already created a Facebook page. That's wonderful. If you create your own social networks, I ask that you post those in the discussion forums so that I'm aware of them. And I can update our collaborative resources tab within this course with those pages if you'd like your other community members in this course to participate. I'd love to see lots of communities proliferate, so let me know where those are so that we can make sure that everybody has a chance to participate. Now, in order to assess your learning, we have a series of self-check opportunities, and you'll see those in these lecture videos. We will have 1 to 2 questions at various points in each lecture where you can check your knowledge of what we've already talked about in the lecture. Those quizzes aren't for grade. You can take them as many times as you wish. And like I said, they're usually 1 or 2 questions and reflective thinking points. Now, each week of the 4 weeks, we will have quizzes. Those quizzes will be 5 questions each. You will be able to take them up to 3 times, and that's to accommodate for any technical challenges that you might face. We all know that unexpectedly our internet drops, and I would hate for you not to have a chance to complete a quiz or to get a 0 on a quiz because that happened to you. So you have 3 attempts at the quizzes. They'll only be 5 questions each. They'll generally be multiple choice quizzes since those are some of the easiest types of questions to deliver in Coursera. And they will be a good practice for you for the final exam. Now, those quizzes also will release the answers to those quizzes after the final due date. So you have 3 attempts, you can take them, you'll find your score out, you could retake it if you wish, and then once the hard due date hits, you will then get the answers to those quizzes so you can go back and check your work. We will ask you to complete 1 peer-assessed assignment. And that peer assessment will be focused on evaluating a technology that we may not discuss within this course. You'll find more details in that peer assessment on the peer assessment tab in the left-hand menu in this Coursera course. And I highly encourage you to not only participate in doing the assignment, but then assessing 3 of your peers, as you will see, has been set up for this activity. The final thing you'll be asked to do is complete a final exam. There'll be 30 questions. You'll have at least an hour to complete them. You'll have 2 tries at this in case, once again, you have technical, unexpected issues. And that exam will be modeled off the kinds of quizzes that we give you each week. You'll have the final week or week 5 to complete that exam. I am going to have invited, or I'm going to have a few guest speakers throughout the duration of this course. Many of these guest speakers are experts in the virtual K12 education field and are regularly practicing a lot of the things that we'll discuss in this course. Your first guest speaker will be Dr. Sarah Eichhorn. She's a mathematics lecturer at UC Irvine and will be providing you with some open resources focused on math as well as science. You'll also have Jesse Keeler, who has his master's in instructional design, be sharing with you some of the more tactical ways that you can bring art into your virtual education. Chandler Lobel, yes, you probably recognize the last name, that is my husband. He will be presenting to you open resources and a couple of lesson ideas around implementing curriculum focused on business as well as technology. And then finally, Victoria O'Neill, who is our course manager in this course. She also is an instructional designer and a longtime language teacher, and she's going to be providing you with some examples of how to employ the technologies we'll talk about in language instruction. I do want to quickly also thank, as I mentioned before, I had an artist do the artwork in my PowerPoint presentations, as well as some badges that you're going to get in week 3. And I wanted to thank her and then also ask you that since I am giving you many of my materials and you will have these videos and you'll be able to download them, to please not reuse her particular artwork without explicit permission from me. I'm happy to give it if you need it, but I want to make sure that we track who's using that art because that is her personal art. Now finally, please share your feedback. It is very important that you tell me about this experience in the course. You can do this through the Coursera discussion forums in the overall course feedback forum, as well as the course materials errors in case you catch typos or mistakes in any of my content. You can also email me, and I've provided my email address here. I would like to say though, because of the volume of students in this course, there's going to be over 15,000 of you taking this course, I cannot answer you individually, particularly during the duration of the course. I can answer you though all in aggregate. So I will answer you in aggregate in the forums. If I see a lot of emails come in that are focused on specific types of feedback, I will then address that within the course. I do give my email address out though because I do want to be in contact with you, and I do want to give you a chance to email me if you don't feel comfortable posting something in the forums. However, I do ask that any feedback that you provide on the course or the learning community itself that's developing around this course be constructive. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation, I've worked with a number of instructors to develop, design, and facilitate their MOOCs. And in some cases, they've been very successful. In other cases, not so much. I can tell you that it isn't valuable for us to just hear complaints. What's valuable for us is to hear why you may not like something and give us ideas for how we can improve it. Or better yet, also tell us when things are going well. We, like anybody else, need to know, oh, that's good, and I'm going to repeat that, as much as we need to know that didn't work. So I ask you to be constructive. I also ask you to be very positive in the forums. This is a learning community. We're all here with the same goal. We want to do the best we can in delivering the highest quality, the most engaging, and the most effective virtual K-12 education. Let's keep that in mind as we communicate with one another, support one another in the forums, and create the right kind of community norms that make that learning possible and don't detract from the overall experience. So with that said, I would like to thank you for taking a few minutes to learn a little bit more about the logistics of the course. And now you're ready to dive into the first lecture of week 1, which is focused on the role of technology in K-12 virtual education. Enjoy!